Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. We've still got some attendees just rolling through and a lot of AI note-taking software looking to join as well. So I'll slowly just start admitting all your AI bots and we'll kick off in about 30 seconds. So thanks for everyone for being so prompt today. Just joined us. We're just waiting 30 seconds for everyone to join and their AI bots joining as well. I don't know what our ratio D is between AI bots and humans today. We'll find out. Welcome to 2025. Okay, it's 1:01, so we like a prompt start, so let's get underway. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining. We've had a really overwhelming response to today's webinar, and I do appreciate it's a busy week with Count having their National PD Days on, so thanks for carving out an hour of your time. My name's Peter Warren. I have a couple of roles. I'm Joint Managing Director of Finura Group. I'm also part of the founding team of Advice Designer, which is our software development application business that we're going to showcase to you today. My colleague, Dipal who's joined us as well. She's head of product for Advice Designer, also works with our customer onboarding team as well. So I've got her here to help me with any technical issues or any sort of specific onboarding questions. Dipal will also be running the chat, so you will have the ability to ask questions through the session. Some I might come back to at the end, but others we might just answer live. So if the questions are relevant to the context and everyone get the response. Just some housekeeping. So today's session will be recorded. So don't feel if you've got to drop off early or something like that, don't stress. You will get the rest of it, but I hope we keep it interesting enough that you're keen to join with us. And we will send a copy of that recording out to all registered RSVP attendees and a copy to the team at Count as well. I'd also like to acknowledge the team at Count, so particularly Steve Richards and Brett Edwards from the Advice Technology team. They have been awesome to work with for the last couple of months. There has been a lot of work that's gone on behind the scenes between our two businesses to bring Advice Designer to life for your network. Whilst we've had a lot built with our software itself, we need to do a lot of work to make sure that Advice Designer works really, really well for licensees. And so the good news is a lot of that work's been done up front. So that will hopefully mean that we're on board when we're onboarding Count firms, and we are doing that at the moment. We give you a really good experience and you'll be up and running quite quickly as well. So big shout out to the Count team for working with us and being so supportive of new technology. So I'm going to run through a bit of a context setting session just initially so you understand what Advice Designer is about. Some of you no doubt have had a bit of a sticky beak of our website and read some of the blogs, but I just think it's important to understand the context of where Advice Designer sits and how we are seeing firms use it today. So today's session, we'll go through that. I'll give you a high-level product overview of how it sits in your current technology stack. But they're going to do a live demo, so you'll get to see Advice Designer in action in terms of its digital advice presentations, the way it authors and builds SOAs, and some of the features of the platform that are really unique and we think are going to be significant productivity enhancement opportunities for your business as well. I'll run through our pricing, which is pretty straightforward, and also our roadmap, because that's probably something, we always get asked. It's a new product, but everyone sort of wants to know what you're doing next. So we do understand that buying any new bit of tech is a big decision for the practice. So we think it's really important for us to help explain where we're headed with our product as well. So how did Advice Designer come about? Well, we for a long time in our various businesses that we've been operating, been trying to tackle this advice production challenge that's been going on across the industry. So our sister company, Finura, surveys advice businesses across Australia. We've had 230 advice businesses complete our surveys. And by and large, the biggest bottlenecks people are still reporting in 2025 is that SOA production and the implementation of advice is still one of the biggest bottlenecks they have to business growth. We all know everyone has in many cases a waiting list of clients that want to see them, but we just can't get clients advised and onboarded efficiently enough because often our technology is not kept up with where the industry is going. We still see SOA production in real life terms as a multi-day exercise. So SOA production times from our data does vary widely, but we are seeing often between a couple of hours up until 30 hours 8 to 11 hours seems to be the average still, which we feel is higher than it needs to be. There is absolutely, in complex, comprehensive advice, some reasons why instant SOAs are not a reality, and there's a lot of good reasons for that. But we believe that with careful use of technology, we can shave some crucial hours off the SOA production time, which will be big wins for your advice firms and big wins for your paraplanners as well. Implementing advice is a killer as well. So businesses that I'm involved with often report that by the time the clients actually had the advice implemented, they've often forgotten about a lot of the things we spoke to them in the initial conversations. There's just such a long lag time between when you first see a client and when you get the advice implemented, and the whole bunch of variables which drive those. But what we're trying to do is, I guess, where possible with our platform, is sort of shortcut as much of that as humanly possible so we can get more information out to clients more efficiently, give it to them in a digital way, and in time, and you'll see through our product roadmap, we've got some opportunities to potentially speed up the implementation of advice through some integrations we're doing with our platforms as well. But they are sort of the critical things we're trying to solve, is the bottlenecks of advice production, the bottlenecks of advice implementation, and really shaving off where possible those critical hours. My first job was a paraplanner in the industry up in Suncorp Bank in Brisbane in 2000 was when I started. I had no idea what a paraplanner was when I started, full disclosure. But I still remember the day walking into the office and looking at these big word templates with 10 different colors of text that were used and doing a lot of cutting and pasting to produce SOAs. And, 25 years on, for a lot of us, that hasn't changed a hell of a lot. We are still using heavily templated SOA Word documents. It's not necessarily what advisors want to be using with their clients, and it's certainly not great for paraplanners either. In 2014, we saw the proliferation of wizards, which people use predominantly in Xplan. And we've had a lot of experience working with wizards, but even whilst they did shave some real critical efficiencies off the time of producing advice, we still found there were some real limitations to using wizards. And essentially those limitations were they can be a bit clunky, they're difficult to maintain, and they don't necessarily give us the digital opportunities that we'd be looking for. So here we are 11 years on, and what we have really just done with Advice Designer is build a tool which replaces the Xplan wizards that you currently use today. So that was our core goal, was to make Xplan wizards irrelevant. As I said, we still find an average SOA production time of about 11 hours. All SOAs are different in terms of how their complexity, but what we tend to find the biggest bugbear that most businesses have is twofold. They spend a lot of time on post-merge editing. So when the SOA gets produced out of Xplan, a lot of time cutting and pasting and making it look and feel how they want it to look. That could be, in some cases, half the time is done on that. And the other thing we found was that a lot of businesses are producing artifacts and documents to support the SOA, like PowerPoint slides and various other documents. That in itself creates some inefficiency as well. So what we're going to show you today is not only how we produce SOAs, but how we actually produce at the same time a digital version of that document, which hopefully will really improve your client engagement. Advice Design is absolutely designed to be more client focused. So you'll hopefully see in our digital presentation version that we've gone to great trouble to sort of make it hopefully easy for the client to understand and follow. And by sharing the advice digitally with clients, it just makes it look and feel a bit more like their document. At the end of the day is where we want to get to. And certainly we think we've got it a lot faster as well. So what does Advice Designer do? Currently today, obviously SOA and ROA generation, arguably the most complex documents to 50 SOAs to produce, and we provide a interactive digital presentation version of that. We've absolutely built a tool designed to support paraplanners. So we are getting a lot of referrals from paraplanners who love using our software. We've trained a number of paraplanners in your network already, including the Count paraplanning team, and groups like TNT are already using our platform, which is really great as well. It has to be compliant. So this is why the work with Count was so important. Advice Designer can be used by Count licensed advisors, GPS Wealth and Paragem. We've created separate versions of Advice Designer, which all integrate nicely for that perspective as well. So the real win there, I guess, is no matter who you're licensed through with those three groups, you will have your own unique config of Advice Designer. And the great news is we've built all that already. So it's ready to go, ready to be used. Collaboration and integration is really important. So I'll talk about the Xplan integration in a moment, and we have a few other integrations we're launching shortly, but Advice Designer is very much designed to complement your existing tech stack. And certainly we feel the return on investment is quite beneficial. So certainly our early users who are using our platform are finding, significant enhancements once they get going. Once they've done about 5 or 6 SOAs, they get really quite good at it. So obviously, and the big ones for us are two things. One is, where possible, reducing some of the production time of advice, but the really important one is actually just really improving the quality of what we show our clients to sort of, support the fees that you do charge, which in many cases are considerable for the advice, and so they should be. Advice Designer is the most integrated Xplan tool that we've sort of ever built. So we have done a lot of work with Iris over the last 2.5 years to build Advice Designer. It certainly took a lot of effort and a lot of heavy lifting, but one of the important things we wanted to do was to not necessarily pull everyone out of Xplan. We found that a lot of the Xplan tooling, like the modeling tools and the research tools, are well used and well supported by paraplanners. It was just the other pieces around advice generation that weren't working as well. So we have integrated it really tightly with Xplan. We have a good relation with Iris, and that's only continued to grow. And in time, we will look to integrate Advice Designer with other platforms as well. So to that end, that's the quick intro, and let's cut into a demo. Hopefully you can see my screen. D, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see that? Yep, great, thank you. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with the end in mind, because I know some of you are probably already looking at other windows on your screens and getting distracted. So this is for the advisors up front. So I know I've got 3 groups of people on this call. I've got advisors, I've got paraplanners and support staff. So let's start with what the client gets. So as I said from the start, Advice Designer produces 2 key artifacts, or 2 key products that produce a digital presentation of our SOA and our advice document. What I'm showing you here is actually the digital version of the advice that we are about to produce when I go through the rest of the demo. The best part about this is that this is designed to be shown either to the client when they're live in your, in your practice with you, and after the meeting, you can actually publish this and share this directly with the client as well. And so the whole idea is that the client may want to come back to this in the future. It's shared digitally with them, and they can access it at any time. So the whole idea is that it becomes a little bit more of a single place where all that information lives for the advice itself. This is not a PowerPoint, it's not a PDF, it is HTML, which means effectively it's like a web page. So we have built things into Advice Designer like an interactive menu, a lot of clickable options. And what that allows is that it then means that the order in which you put the slides, which we've really locked down, doesn't matter so much, because you and or the client can jump around the various pieces of the advice that are most important to you when you're running through it as well. All of the images, colors, and things you see are completely configurable. So you can actually choose your own journey, and I'll show you how to do that in the platform later. You can set up your practice to make it really look and feel like yours. As you see here, we have an interactive menu. We do refer the client back to the SOA, so this is not intended to be the SOA, although with DBFO in the future, maybe it will be, but for now, we still have a statement of advice, and we do direct the client to that as well. We have a lot of sort of freedom and flexibility in the authoring experience to be able to put not only just words, but we do quite regularly use images through the document as well. So we have a lot of people using flow charting, particularly we have complex family structures and complex advice. Some people might use tools like Miro and other sort of mind mapping software that's out there these days. You've got a lot of freedom to be able to put content into your digital presentation that you would want to use, or you would otherwise probably use in maybe a PowerPoint slide, but you can do this digitally inside of Advice Designer. The way the advice authoring flows is very much strategies linked to goals, so a very similar framework to what you do today. But crucially, we actually sort of summarize it quite succinctly for the client. And as we go through the plan authoring experience, when it comes to actually looking at the different pieces of strategy and information, you're not just limited to what you put inside the plan authoring experience, like I've got here as well, in terms of a little bit of flow chart, bit of information, benefits, things to consider, but we've also given you the ability to attach other informations that might support your advice. So things like, for example, aged care has some specialist calculators or tools you want to use. You can embed them digitally in here. And again, it just means that when the client wants to come back and look at things again with you, they get it all in one place, as opposed to having lots and lots of attachments on an email. And even things like how we include our, our fact sheets, strategy flyers, they're embedded digitally. So we're not having to attach massive appendices of information. We're all incorporating all this information digitally. And best of all is this is all provided in the system ready to go. So there's not a lot of work here to implement. And another thing we've done is allow you the ability to have videos. So these are quite generic videos that we produce, and they come with our product. But in one of our next releases, you'll be able to have your own video content embedded in here via Vimeo links. So if you are sort of leaning into a more digital video experience for advice, you can put explainer videos inside of Advice Designer as well, which we feel is a nice sort of way to have a multimedia experience for the advice too as well. I'll just skip ahead. One of the really unique features of Advice Designer is done through our Xplan integration, particularly with Xtools. So the way Advice Designer works is we will pull in all your Xtools modeling scenarios that have been done for you inside to our presentation layer. In the plan authoring, you determine what charts you want, what order they're in, and what, the logic that sort of goes behind it. But what we've done is we consume all the data, and we've put our own charting packages across this. And even to the extent of things like the colors and things you see here, you can completely configure yourself. This has been a real win for a lot of practices who maybe have tried to cram really complex charts inside of an SOA. It's just kind of hard to do in a portrait document. By having this digital landscape, we can just get information in there a little bit more easier to follow. Another core feature is that there is an element of interactivity here. So you do have the ability when you're presenting this to the client to not so much adjust the modeling, because that can be a little bit cumbersome, but you can actually sort of just focus in on key bits of key timeframes that you might be looking at. The client can come back in, put their mouse over certain numbers. I mean, all stuff you'd sort of expect in 2025 to be able to do, but the reality is you just can't do that at the moment with the advice tech that we have. So this is for many people just, I guess, bridging some gaps that they probably tend to find with using Xtools that certainly some other modeling software does provide, but it's all stitched together as part of your current Xplan environment. By the use of tabs, we've also given you the ability to group a lot more content inside of these presentations as well. So you can have your current proposed, you can have tables, as pretty much any chart you like out of Xtools can be used. So you and your paraplanner can effectively choose the content you want to show. In our future releases, we're also going to have the ability to switch between a couple of scenarios as well. So that'll be quite good if you're doing that with clients. But the feedback we're getting is less is more. And quite often, many of you will just choose one particular bit of information they use. This is a significant step up from what it currently works with Xplan. We do talk about product in the digital advice authoring. So things like insurance, we do sort of pull out some of the data from Risk Researcher in terms of insurance needs, particularly. We do talk a bit about products, so product and replacement, but importantly, when it comes to the actual advice, benefits, features, lost and gained, that all lives in the SOA, obviously. This is really just designed to give the client a very clear snapshot of what's happening with the advice. Same with our portfolio recommendations. We do talk about our buys and sells. We rebuild all the asset allocation charts as well. So the idea again is that the client hopefully has a really clear indication of what's happening with the advice as well. We put fees in here, so these are all built inside your plan authoring, which again I'll show in a moment. But any sort of other fees like commissions from insurance providers, those things, that all comes through automatically in from Risk Researcher. And you do have the ability here as well with things like your ongoing service packages to sort of attach other informations or other artifacts that you want to about explaining how your service packages work. So you can sort of see as you go through this, you can see how we're sort of hopefully reducing the number of documents we're providing the client. One feature a lot of people really like is this idea of next steps. So this actually allows you to build it's like a checklist effectively, which some people already do a little bit in Xplan, but this is as much for the client, things that they know they need to do next to sort of implement the advice. And we do have plans to be able to sort of share some of those tasks into things like client portals in the future as well. You'll notice here again at the bottom, this digital presentation, we have a little reminder here in a blue box, which the compliance team have sort of recommended we put here just to direct the client back to the SOA to remind them that there's a fuller information package in there as well. The client simply needs to click there and it takes them straight to where the SOA lives, and they can download that from here as well. We also allow you the ability to provide all the other PDSs and TMDs and attachments and implementation reports, quotes, whatever you like, into this digital layer as well. And again, this is designed to sort of hopefully reduce email usage a little bit, which we know is still quite high, emailing sensitive documents to clients. We can embed this information digitally and just not overload them with heavy information, and they can come back and look at this, access this at any time as well. And the final bit we do as well is we group a lot of the resources as well. So if you do have videos that you're using, other information, education, you can embed it here digitally. Client can come back to it and view it at any time as well. So again, it's as much designed to be the client's sort of resource as yours as well. So let me just pause there and sort of go back to how we got there in terms of sort of setting up a financial plan for a client. So the way Advice Designer works, I'm in the platform here as well, is that every single user, whether you're a paraplanner or a support staff or an advisor, has a unique login to Advice Designer. You don't need to worry about this part, but here we have our Explain integrations. They are already set up for you. So we've integrated Advice Designer with all the versions of Xplan that have been used across the Count network. I think there's 3 or 4 at the moment. So this is one of the benefits of being part of a big licensee. That heavy lifting's already happened, so nothing will change from that perspective. The only real change that you'll notice from your workflow or paraplanner's workflow is that you will still do all the modeling and research that you currently do inside Xplan. You'll still have your clients inside of Xplan. But when it actually comes to creating a plan, we can actually search for your clients inside your Xplan already. So providing that client already lives in Xplan and we've done some research and modeling for those clients, we can actually find them inside of Advice Designer. In terms of creating an SOA, it's a pretty straightforward process. We do SOAs and ROAs currently. We can effectively link multiple clients. So if your clients are linked in Xplan through the CRM, we will pull in client partner. We can also pull in any related entities as well. So we do it for self-managed super funds and various other things as well. We pull in your research from WealthSolver, research from Risk Researcher, and obviously cash flow modeling will come in from Xtools Plus as well. If there were scenarios linked to those clients, we just click on those and your paraplanning will start the onboarding process. So it's a pretty straightforward exercise. We do run separate training sessions for paraplanners, so I won't labour on this too much, but I think there's just a few things probably to be aware of for advisors particularly. So in terms of our plan authoring engine, so remember Advice Designer doesn't just do the presentation, it actually builds the SOA as well. So we don't use wizards anymore, remember, so we're just doing everything inside our platform. A couple of things that you'll notice, you'll probably hopefully see some green ticks here up the top. What that means is we've actually imported scenarios from WealthSolver, Risk Researcher and Xtools Plus to produce this SOA document. We follow a sort of a pretty standard sort of advice authoring process, which hopefully helps guide you or the paraplanner who is producing advice through the process really efficiently. We pull in a lot of the data from Xplan. So things like client goals can be pulled in or they can be added manually. So if you don't have client goals inside Xplan, that's no problem. We also allow you to pull in all the fact find data as well. So you'll see here for this scenario, we have all of the Xplan fact find data will appear here automatically. And the really cool thing is that if you actually make any changes, something doesn't look right, we can actually send that data back to Xplan. So we have a two-way integration. So that's really is quite useful because we often do find people do make updates to the fact find as they're producing it. And we'll obviously, as I said before, we'll pull in any related entities as well. In terms of our other features in our product, you'll notice when I had all those flow charts and things of the digital presentation layer, we have this sort of rich text field capability here, which allows us to do a couple of important things. Firstly, we have this idea of quick text. The quick text is sort of seen as it's your way of personalizing your version of Advice Designer. We can set up quick text at the practice level. So if you want your practice to have access to all the same types of quick text, across the platform, that's fine. Or we can have it at an individual level if it's just stuff that you like to use. But what you'll see here is it does allow the user to have some, not just a bunch of text just sitting there, but actually things like images, the formatting, various other frameworks you might use, you can actually insert automatically inside here as well. And it just gives people the ability to hopefully still do that personalization, but do it in a far more efficient way inside the platform as well. One of the questions you do get asked is, does it have AI? No, Advice on it has no AI. But what we are hearing from users is quite a few people are using things like the Grammarly plugins inside of our rich text field. So you'll see here on my screen, I've got Grammarly, which is used by a lot of people to improve your writing. And what this means is that hopefully you or your paraplanner can sort of proofread all of this live as you build it. And things like Grammarly do have AI things now where effectively you can rewrite content if you want to make it more succinct. You can do that inside of Advice Designer. So we don't want to control that part of it. We think that's up to you. But it is important to know that we see these web plugins as a really important piece of the puzzle. I'll just skip through a few of the other areas, but we obviously have built out strong licensee compliant sort of areas like scope of advice is built in. So that flows through to the strategies that we use. There is clear areas where you can define limitations of scope. Here's an area, for example, where we would have, if a client has asked for specific things to be excluded, I think there's one here like insurance. The client said, no, we don't want insurance. And we have a whole bunch of quick text there, which can be used for like insurance decline disclosures. But again, these are sort of these quick 1%ers that are automatically sort of built into the platform. With our Xplan integrations, we consume all the data inside of Advice Designer. So here we have our risk researcher scenario if you're doing risk insurance, which is pulled through. We do have quite a few risk-only advisors using Advice Designer, which is pretty cool. They're finding it really efficient to use because obviously they're just doing quite straightforward product comparison work and modeling. And so if you are using Risk Researcher, really importantly, you can view a lot of this information inside of the platform. And so we do get a lot of feedback that Xplan can be pretty slow because of its just a sort of older platform, I guess. Because we consume a lot of the data from Xplan, a lot of our users are finding it a lot more efficient to sort of navigate our software faster. And so you can still view all the information in your modeling scenarios just in a more efficient way. We also pull in your well solver, which is your product comparison software. So we obviously have our current and proposed. We will obviously have different statuses of whether it's like for like or recommend and acquire proposals built in there as well. So effectively all the information inside of WellSolver will appear inside Advice Designer. If for whatever reason something doesn't look right, we have a simple fix for that. You don't necessarily make changes inside Advice Designer, but what you or your paraplanners can do is you can actually just have that module open next to you, make your changes that are required to be fixed. You don't need to start this whole thing again. And you can effectively hit this button here, which is refresh scenario, everything will update and you just start again, proceed where you were. So that's been built in mind also as well. Investment commentary. So we do, as I said, we rebuild asset allocation charts for you. And here's the ability where you have the ability to put, disclaimers around. And here's the one we've done some work here with your licensee around some asset allocation variances, disclaimers. The team have gone to great trouble to put in a lot of sort of quick text here to give you some useful guides of what you need to be putting in these various areas. So you have a high degree of confidence that you're producing advice which meets those requirements as well. Our modeling, this comes in directly from Xtools. In this scenario, we have imported both a current and proposed scenario from Xtools. Same principles apply. If you find something that doesn't quite look right, you don't need to start again. We can just refresh the data at any time. So your paraplanner or yourself can make those changes. We know it happens all the time. Clients have a way of adding new information at the last minute. Doesn't mean you have to start the whole SOA again. Just means we just sort of update the scenario and build from there. So again, this is where these workarounds can be a real problem killer. We pull in all of the data from Xtools. So all 75 tables, I think it is, maybe a bit more, get pulled in. Importantly, inside of Advice Designer, you can view the information. So for any of you that do use Xtools every day would know you get this spinning wheel of death, I think sometimes people call it, with our software because it's more contemporary, it's new, it's faster, simply. So we save a lot of time just by finding information here as well. Importantly, you're in the driver's seat, so you can determine what information you want to go in the SOA the appendix, or the digital presentation, or all three is up here as well. You can also export any of the modeling you like into a CSV file for Excel. If for whatever reason, you can have that as well. And we've also just done a few nifty things, like give you the ability to have different stages of periods, be able to just chunk the time frames a little differently, which is a really important feature. Hard to do in a post-merge editing sense, but a really important feature if you do have some very long-term projections that you're doing. Sometimes it's nice to be able to chunk up the years and do that automatically in our system. So again, our goal is to stop any of this sort of post-merge editing that would happen as well. Our charts, so again, same principle applies. You can actually view all the charts out of Xtools in here as well. And we've actually got our own charting packages. So you would have decided inside Advice Designer what colors you want them all to be. You can export these as high quality images if you like, or obviously they can just be embedded digitally straight into your advice document or the digital presentation. Similarly with our, sorry, I've clicked on that wrong again. Similarly with all our sort of other charts as well. This is what we saw in the digital presentation. This is how we would view it. And again, you know, we can at least be viewing the content before it ends up in the SOA. So we know exactly what we're getting before we do that. And this is where that collaboration between paraplanner and advisor is really, really important. Similarly, we can adjust all these timeframes, do this as well live, so you can actually export information as required. We're getting quite a lot of users who are actually just using this to, you know, as clients come in for review, they just want to show the charts off in a slightly different way. They're finding it a lot faster to do it inside of Advice Designer. Obviously, our assumptions we pull through, so you do have some clear guidance from your licensee on what assumptions you need to pull through. And in our next release, we're going to have a set of user preferences, so you'll be able to actually set up just some automatic things that'll get charts that get produced all the time. You'll have some default options, which will hopefully improve your efficiency. When we've chosen all those charts and tables, you have the ability to group them as much as you want to group them as many areas as you like. We have three sort of artifacts here that we would apply some grouping to. So our SOA, we choose the order in which we want the various charts and tables, our appendix if you use those. And inside the digital presentation, if you remember, I had those tabs across the screen. They are effectively how I do that. And so you can actually determine the order in which they go, some logical grouping that you want to use, and you could even build in some commentary there if you want to do that as well. Our strategies. So with Advice Designer, all the strategies come pre-configured. So you or your paraplanner just get some really clear guidance of where to drop in some particulars for the strategy. We haven't automated that quite yet. We've just got some challenges with Xplan we're trying to sort through, but hopefully in time we'll even have more automation of content in this side. But red text is a pretty good guide as to where the tweaks need to be made, but it's a pretty straightforward workflow for the paraplanner. And most importantly, our 135 strategies are fully managed by us. So we keep it up to date for you. So it's just something you don't have to worry about, built into the system. Similarly with our strategy and product text, they are built into the system, and Count also have the ability to add as much content as they like as well. So it's a far more efficient way than managing a whole bunch of word templates. Obviously, we have the ability to use alternative strategies. This is definitely where people use a lot of quick text. So you've got an alternative strategy here guide from your licensee. So that's the table that you would drop in, and you can just see we just drop it straight in there and we fill out the content if it's required. Our outline, this is like an exec summary. This is where I dropped in that little flow chart there. You can see where that lives as well. So you just, as you can see, I hope I'm just proving here, you've just got a lot of flexibility in terms of how you actually show the information. Can be up to you. Things like remuneration, you will either pull this in directly from the modeling tools themselves if you've modeled them in the research side of it, but you can actually obviously create all your own fee types in here as well. When we've given you a lot of flexibility on how you want to describe them. You've also got the ability here to add some additional text. So we've got some setup areas here that your licensees ask you to put some content in here around buy-sell differentials potentially, and how you position your fixed term agreement and ongoing service agreements can be dropped in here as well. And the great thing about the platform, I guess, is that if you're a user, We'll be always making tweaks to this. So your licensee, the team will give us some guidance on how they want this to work. And it just means that we can make updates instantly, and those updates trickle down across the entire network straight away. So by doing as much as we can in this system, you've got a real high degree of confidence that you're producing advice which is compliant the minute you produce it as well. Just some other things that will pop up too. There is some quick text here around any alternative remuneration. So this is an area that licensees ask you to put in. So again, you've got just really clear guidance on that too. I'll just skip to the very end because these are probably the different parts. So if I've gone through my plain authoring experience, I'll now hit to generate a document. So Advice Designer produces again that digital presentation and a Word SOA, which I've just clicked the generate button for now. So as I'll talk, I'll wait for that to merge out. Here is where we can actually start adding some additional information, which I had in the digital presentation layer. So we've got our PDFs, any other flow charts or calculators, outputs you might want to use can be added here as well really easily, and you can determine where you want them to go. We will automatically select fact sheets for you based on the strategies you select, but you can add other ones as well. Similarly, the videos, you don't have to use them. But if you do, here's where you can add them. We provide them built into the platform. And again, if you want to have your own down the track, you can do that as well. And the final step of the process, this seems like a small thing, but it's actually, we had a lot of good feedback about it. So we do provide a bit of a sort of a traffic light system about some logic we built into the system that if things don't look right, just to go back and have a quick check. We do have a red, amber, green, so there's no reds here, which is okay. But let's say, for example, here you've got an area like disclosures or a scope where you've sort of started something, but you sort of ticked the box, but you didn't put any content in there. You can actually just click this button here. It just takes you straight back to where you were to complete the content. Now, anyone that actually produces advice, any paraplanners there would know that that's a big time saving, just that in itself. And so what we're trying to do is get this absolutely right before we actually produce that SOA. I've just had a notification to say my SOA is now ready to go. So I'll just quickly change screens and show you how that comes out. So hopefully my Word document. So this is our merged SOA. So you'll see here that the branding, colors, images all comes out looking exactly like your digital version, which is really, really important for the client experience. We want a real consistency here. But importantly, the SOA we produce, and again, this has gone through rigorous review with your compliance teams, follows the structure that you are required to use for your SOAs. But importantly, we've gone to great trouble, as much as we can within the confines of the law, to build an SOA which is, looks professional, tables are well laid out, tables are correctly structured, charts are nicely built in, and really requires, hopefully, relatively limited post-merge editing. This is a raw output, but just things like nice professional page breaks, these are the things that can often take hours for people to get right and potentially make errors. And one of the beautiful things about it is that if you make a mistake, things just, you start hacking, and we don't encourage you to do any hacking. You saw how quick it was just to merge out a new one, and we'd often advocate for that. Do as much as you can inside the advice authoring layer, and then you really can't go too wrong. The only tweaks you'll have to make is just the things like a few page breaks might pop out here and there that are blank. They just need to be removed. But we're finding from our feedback from paraplanners using this that, what was generally a couple of hours sort of hacking post-merge editing drops down to hopefully just 10 or 20 minutes like that. And we would certainly discourage anything more than that. Generally means you're changing the advice significantly, but hope you agree it sort of comes out like a pretty professional output. And that is our SOA, which in time will either be a car or something else. We'll see what happens. Back to the platform features itself, just want a couple of quick things to talk about. We give every user of Advice Designer a unique login, so you can manage on your own passwords. Each practice will have it has what's called its own workspace, And what's really cool about that is that for your workspaces, you will actually control who are the users that you give access to. So you can invite in external paraplanners if you want to do that. We don't charge paraplanners, by the way, so you can have as many as you like on your system. And what's great about that is, I guess, is that when they're jumping into your system, you'll have all your brand and preferences and quick text all set up and configured and ready to go. And so that just means that when you are onboarding new paraplanners, or if you use a panel of paraplanners, or you do it yourself, you know that you've got the system ready to go, built in for you as well. A few areas you'll see here, which you might not be able to tweak, because we do have some areas that are sort of set by the licensee. But the really important areas that people do like and focus on is things like your branding. You have full control over all your charts, tables, colors, imagery as well. Here's where you make all those changes, knock yourself out there. And for anyone that has tried to make, we do hear a lot of feedback on people who take a raw SOA output from Xplan and they try to, recolor it and re-edit the whole document. These are the time killers from that perspective. So that sort of hopefully goes away with Advice Designer. The other thing we do is our theming. So I think I had this tropical theme in Queensland today, so that's appropriate. But we have a few other ones built in here as well. So we have a global, mountain one. I think all the standard things is not going to offend anybody, but you can add your custom ones here. So if you do have stock images you use on your practice website, those other documents, strongly encourage you to use those and really make it look and feel like yours, and just totally levels up that as well. And final thing is, here's where you manage all our quick text. So if you do have a lot of practice things that you regularly use, here's where they're all set up. We've also set up a lot inside the licensee space. The final thing, I think the thing we don't talk about enough, honestly, is our support. So Dipal, Helene, our onboarding team, do an awesome job training our users, getting them up and running. But we do understand from time to time that advisors will do things late at night, or paraplanners late at night, and maybe they can't get a hold of us for whatever reason. Inside of Advice Designer here, you'll see on this window, we have a really good set of sort of support, which will hopefully basically allow you to be get some self-help if required if you can't get a hold of us. And so we have a lot of things like animated help guides, how to publish your first plan, how to share it with the client, all those sort of bits and pieces are built in there as well. So that's a really important part. We have onboarding checklists to help with that as well. And here's where we make all our updates. So if we're actually applying new features and upgrades, you'll get constant updates as well. So it works a lot like any sort of modern software platform you'd expect, but something that's a little bit rare inside of what we see traditionally with advice tech. I'll just quickly jump into the last step of sort of how Advice Designer comes together, and we'll kick back into the some questions. But the final sort of piece of the puzzle that is a little bit different with Advice Designer perhaps than what you've traditionally done is the idea of sharing the presentation with the client. So what we've done with Advice Designer is that we no longer email the client the SOA directly. What we do is we share it with them digitally. So the next step in our advice authoring experience is that you will see a button here at the bottom called Publish. What that does is two things. The first thing is when I hit Publish, it'll ask me to basically correctly identify that the email address linked to the client is the correct one we want to send it to. And we will actually be able to send a link to the digital presentation and the ability to see the SOA to the client directly via secure email. It's not a client portal, so they don't need a password. They'll just get a two-factor authentication to be able to log in, but that will be pretty familiar to your clients, I'm sure, these days. But again, it just provides that extra bit of cyber resilience that we're not sending really sensitive information unsecurely over email. But the other important thing it does too is it actually locks down this entire advice authoring scenario. So we only really want to hit that publish button, I guess, when the advice has been agreed to and sort of approved and everyone's happy. But what that means is that we've actually now finally got a real source of truth of not only what was the SOA that we gave to the client, but all of the modeling and the strategy and all the work that you've done for the client lives in this space. And so it means in the future that if we do have advice documents that are a little bit shorter, and let's hope we do, we can actually get through those new regulatory requirements in a really good way by having all that information securely locked in one location. And you can share it with a client again multiple times if they lose it, no problem at all. If they lost the link, really straightforward as well. That is a really important change. And what's really exciting is we are doing one of our first integrations is going live this week or next week, I think, guys. I think it's next week with My Prosperity. So if you are a My Prosperity user, you'll be able to share all the documents that I've taken you through. They'll be able to share them directly with the client's filing vault on My Prosperity, which is really cool. And we've got plans to improve that integration. So the next step is we'll be able to publish links to the SOA and the digital presentation into their rooms. So there's some really good features there coming down the track for My Prosperity, which is definitely the most widely used client portal. And the final step is back to Xplan. So we can actually send this back to Xplan. We can send the SOA and the documents via the document API back to your Xplan, which meets your requirements for count. And so we've thought through that as well. So we've really tried to build a nice sort of round loop in terms of where the data flows as well. I'll just quickly jump back to our presentation. Dipal, did I miss anything there, or is that good enough, do you think?
No. I think you've covered it all. We've been working through some questions. So there's one from Emily there.
I haven't seen any of them. So sorry, I've been in the zone.
That's okay. No, that's okay. About consideration to offering a client to sign off on the advice and other relevant documents. So I think that's where we've got My Prosperity integration coming up. We have clients who are pushing the documents back into Xplan and using either Xplan Client Portal or DocuSign integration to sign off on the documents at the moment.
Yeah. At the moment, look, I think in time we'll probably have to get there in terms of offering some sort of other integrations with DocuSign or those sort of things. There's about 1,000 of them now. I think we'd have to pick just one or two to work with. But it's a great question. I think if we get enough users that are not using those portals and want to use something direct, then we probably have to consider that at some point. Yep, great question. Any others, Dee, you want me to cover here before I close out?
I think we've covered most of them.
Okay.
I've been working through them all.
Thanks. Good to have you here for that. Okay, so I'll just cover off some other things that okay. So there was a question I just saw there about a bit of confusion between the advice presentation and the SOA. Yeah. Okay. So your SOA is still what I showed you in that Word document. Nothing changes there, and that's still a Word document. You can PDF and use how you like. The digital presentation is just the same content, the same information that's in that SOA, but we've just produced that digital version that I took you through at the very start of the webinar. So the idea is really that digital presentation is designed to be a summary of the advice, perhaps something that you would have done via PowerPoint manually or something like that. But the benefit of going with a platform like this is that it's the same content, it's produced at the same time as the SOA, and it's obviously got those interactive features as well. So you don't have to use the digital presentation if you don't want to. We think it's a big part of the value proposition of paying for our product though. But that's really the use case for it, is to complement the SOA to help the client's understanding and help you position your advice in a more succinct way rather than just sending them the 100-page document as well. Sorry, Dee, I might just let you answer some of those questions as we go, if that's okay. Yeah, thank you.
No, that's okay.
Great. Okay. So I'll just sort of recap on the core features of the product before I get into the sort of the next step. So obviously Advice Designer is designed to replace any Xplan wizards or manual templates that you use at the moment for SOA generation. We produce that SOA and we have the ability to share it digitally with the client and also give them that digital version if that's something you think would be really good for your advice as well. It's absolutely designed to be something to share, use that mechanism to share the information more securely with a client, but again, that's not going to be for every client. You can still use Advice Designer just to produce SOAs that you want to do. If you really just like to look at the SOAs, no problem. But it does give you that optionality to use the digital version as well. It complements your Xplan, so you still use Xplan for modeling. When it comes to actually producing advice, you jump into this system for producing the SOAs and or your paraplanners as well. So the way we built Advice Designer is that you will have your practice set up, you'll set up all your images and your branding, we help you with that. You'll have either your advisors or your staff acts on the system, and you can invite in paraplanners to use it if you like. And as I mentioned at the start, we have a lot of paraplanners now using our system, which is quite cool. In terms of our pricing, we don't bill paraplanners or support staff, we only bill advisors for Advice Designer. You don't have to have every practice in your advisor using Advice Designer. So if you have say you have 3 advisors in your practice, only one wants to use it, that's fine, no problem. We hope they all become a client eventually. But we just charge that fixed fee per advisor, so $350 plus GST. It's a monthly fee. There's no lock-in, so you can cancel at any time with 30 days notice. We'd like people to really give it a go. We do find it takes about 4 to 5 SOAs for people to get used to it. It is a different way of doing things, but the benefits are enormous from that perspective. Where is the value? Certainly from our perspective, we know SOAs cost a lot to produce. You charge a lot for them. And so we're finding that the practices that are sort of paying for a product like ours are the ones who are definitely happy to spend a bit of money in making the advice and having the digital side just look really, really professional as their goal. And so the value equation is twofold. Absolutely, there can be some efficiencies, and once you get familiar with the system, to produce the advice more quickly. But the second one is that if you really just want to have that premium, great-looking visual experience for your clients by charging the fees you do, then this is a great product for that as well. And I'm sure the team at Count would probably tell you as well, trying to build this stuff inside of Xplan is really hard. This is certainly a good way of sort of having a more contemporary way of delivering advice. We don't charge any other fees, so there's no setup costs, there's no little tricks and wrinkles. All that work's been done for you. So one of the benefits of all the heavy lifting that the team at Count have done with us is that we can have users on board really, really quickly. The big commitment's just a little bit of training, just getting to know the system. We always encourage people to spend a bit of time with their onboarding team, just getting through those first couple of SOAs. And then once they get through that, they tend to get really, really efficient, which is great as well. And the important part is our paraplanners and support staff are free. So if you do have lots of paraplanners, and we know many do, that's fine. You can have as many invited in as you like. We'll never charge for them as well. I do want to talk about our roadmap. I think it's really important. So we absolutely want to be a leading advice generation platform. So we have a few things in mind. Our document sharing integration of MyProsperity will go live next week. So that's a really important step for us. We know a lot of people in the Count network use MyProsperity as a client portal, and we absolutely see a good partnership there. The next two are what I'm really excited about. So the first one is platform integration. So one of the advantages we have by pulling all that data through that we do from Xplan is you'll remember that I have a lot of information in the system already, which I could share with a platform to help with onboarding of new clients into those platforms or trading that happens with those platforms. So one or two of the platforms, Hub24 is a good example, I've already sort of been doing some work with them to understand, well, could we perhaps share that data to speed out onboarding, helping pre-populate applications, set up accounts, those things as well, and hopefully reducing errors is where they see a huge benefit as well. So by taking that whole advice generation experience and making it digital, we can hopefully reduce errors and improve efficiency that way, and that's something we'll be launching later this year. And our final step on our roadmap is client reviews. So the number one thing our clients have said to us, love all this for SOAs and ROAs. We want to do all our document generation on this platform and have it look and feel the same from that perspective, and that makes sense to us. So we are making a significant investment to build out a world-class client review product. You all do reviews really differently, so that's going to be the challenge for us, is to work out how to give people the experience we want. But one of the advantages, I guess, we have by the integrations with Xplan and with the platform partners we have is that we can really probably work hard on that. So that client review experience is going to be really exciting for us to work through, and we'll absolutely be reaching out to our users to help us guide that journey. And that's kind of the roadmap. If we get all that done in the next 12 months, I'll be really, really happy. And in terms of what you do from here, so as I said to you, we can onboard Count practices pretty much straight away now. We've already had a few account firms sign up, which is really exciting. They're going through the onboarding at the moment and starting to use the system. So that's well underway. All that config's been done. So after this webinar, and Dee might drop in a couple of the links as well when she gets a moment, stop when she's not answering all those questions, you can actually do two things. If you really like what you've seen, you say, hey, I just want to get stuck in and have a go, you can have an onboarding call with us where effectively we'll take you through just some things you need to know before you get set up and make sure we give you the appropriate training and support you need to have the best experience possible. So it's a quick 30-minute call. We can get you going that way. If you just have more questions, you just want to see more, no problem. We'd love to do another demo just for your practice. And what we can do with those demos is we actually will brand the demo for your practice and just really make it, give you a good sense of what it's going to be. So there's a link there as well. You'll get a link in the follow-up email with the recording also. Book that in. That can be a slightly longer demo tailored to your needs, and would encourage you to potentially invite a couple more people from your business to that one, just so everyone gets a feel for it as well. So you've got those two things you can do with us straight away, and they're really the next steps. So we will send you a copy of the recording. You'll get the links for those next steps as well. We're doing a lot of work with account paraplanning team, so they're hopefully getting more and more familiar with our system as well. So we can talk to you if you're using that team as well. We can talk to you about how that works, and our website is a great source of information too. So on our website, you'll actually see we have a couple of clickable demos, which are quite cool, where you can actually go in and look at the digital presentation that I showed you before and click around and have a feel for it. So I encourage you to do that. We also have a copy of our sort of a standard SOA we do as well, which you can quickly look through also. And if there's anything else that we haven't catered for in the FAQ, send us an email, send me an email directly, peter.warren@finoragroup.com, and I'll be glad to get the team to give you a hand. Dee, is there any questions you want me to address more broadly before I give everyone
I think we've covered
early mark?
Off on all of them. Fingers crossed. Yes, I haven't missed anything. No.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, again, thank you for the wonderful participation. I hope you would agree that we've done a lot of work to hopefully make something really, really great for you to use, and something I think your clients are going to be impressed by and that your paraplanners will love as well. And certainly look forward to getting lots of feedback from the network as we roll out more broadly. So thanks very much, everyone. I'll wrap it up early, and have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
I think we're clear now.